Welcome to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Young. I am a woman who believes that we, like wine, get better with age. Age brings us wisdom, intuition, and a level of sophistication that is beyond the reach of youth. I am here to tell you that living a luxuriously rich and fulfilling life is in your reach. I Think I Can podcast will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Allow me to show you how to do life effortlessly. This podcast is for the woman who is tired of playing by the rules of society, community, religion, parents, and partners. I Think I Can is all about becoming brave, authentic, purposeful, and strong. Listen weekly and you will find yourself living a life you could have only once dreamed of. Thoughts drive our physiology, so channel your thoughts with me into a life truly worth living. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome to episode 25. And this episode is a little bit different in the sense that I am just speaking solo by myself, nobody to interview. And it's because I am actually in Europe right now. It's my last day here. And I guess I just didn't have my act together and I didn't have anybody lined up for episode 25. So here I am. Whether you like it or not, you're just going to hear me today. And what's better than me just talking about my trip? That's what I thought, because it's fresh in my mind and I'm excited to share it with you. So, let's start with what I loved. And well, I should tell you that, I went to Rome, Tuscany, and Portugal. So Italy and Portugal. And I started off my trip in Tuscany, visiting my brother and his partner in the province of Arezzo. And then I went on to Rome and then Lisbon. And I guess, what was so great? I think, first of all, the fact that I could just get on a plane again and to travel across the ocean and go to this older land, Italy, let's say, inhabited before Christ. And I'm not sure why I'm so fond of Italy. My father is from the Netherlands, and I mean, you would think I'd be in love with Holland, and I do love Holland, but not as much as I love Italy. I was first introduced to Europe at a young age, I would say, considering, back in the day, it wasn't very normal for someone like a young teenager to go over to Europe, but my parents sent me over with my sister to see, I guess, my Dutch cousins. And I think it was then that I really fell in love with Europe. It's just planted a seed in my mind that I always wanted to go back to Europe. And European culture was around me as I grew up. I mean, my dad being an immigrant and often hearing stories that my parents told when they returned from their trips to Europe. The Dutch language being spoken around me all throughout my childhood, and the many relatives that visited my home when I was a little girl. And then when I was about 18, I think I was 18, just graduated from high school. I had the chance to visit Europe again, and this time it was with my parents and a few of my siblings. Um, we went to see we went to visit my eldest brother, John, the one who I just finished visiting in Tuscany. He was posted in Rome um, at that time with the Canadian Foreign Service. So that was a lot of great memories from that trip. And then when I was 22, yeah, I had just graduated from my bachelor's degree at the U of M. I had the opportunity to actually work and live in Brussels, Belgium. So I worked there for the European Union for about 6 months. And um, then I revisited Italy again when I was about, I think, 30 with my husband, just before we had our three children. So this time we visited a few countries, again, Italy, went back to the Netherlands, and I think also Hungary and Poland. Um, so what sparked me to travel to Europe again after almost 22 years of not being there. I mean, of course, the COVID restrictions dropping and feeling that freedom to fly again. But I mean, COVID also taught me that, we can't take anything for granted. And I realized that, my brother had retired from the Foreign Service for almost 10 years, and he purchased the land that he currently lives on right now in Tuscany. Like I said, about 10 years ago. And I was the one of the few siblings that had not yet seen his place. So I just felt it was time for me to go and go by myself. And a lot of people thought, why are you going by yourself? Well, no one really said that to me, but I'm sure a lot of people wondered. And I mean, it was for a few reasons. I think, you know, when one enters, let's say, the second season of their lives, something weird happens to you. You realize that life is passing you by, and if you don't start doing the things that you've been dreaming about and talking about, those things may never happen. So, and I thought about going late fall, let's say when my husband would be able to join me, but again, that just seemed too far away. And I think, after just being cooped up, let's just be honest, after being cooped up with my family and having my family around me, what seemed 24/7 with, you know, um, you know, home, like you could say, I guess all the home study, like online study, my university kids actually being home all the time. Like it was just a little bit too much family time for me. So it just seemed like a big draw to go away by myself. But one of the other main reasons that I felt that I wanted to go away alone is that, I just wanted to challenge myself again. I wanted to maybe take the path of more resistance. It's so easy just to stay in your same routine, stay home, stay safe. And when I booked this flight, it was basically right around the time that the war in Ukraine began. And, again, I had second thoughts. I was like, oh my goodness, is this the right thing to do? I also have not contracted COVID. Well, at least if I have, it's been asymptomatic. Um, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I go to Europe, that's going to be like, I'm going to get it for sure. I mean, I could have talked myself out of it 2,000 times if I really wanted to, but I I know I had to just push through any sort of fears that I had and challenge myself. So, um, yeah, I mean, got on basically planes, trains, and automobiles and metros, and I managed to escape COVID still. Um, so, yeah, it all went really, really well. Um, and as I mentioned, like it's it's not like I felt like I needed to get away from, let's say, even my work or stress or anything like that. Um, like I love my work. I really don't find it stressful. It can be mentally exhausting at times, of course, being, a therapist and a coach, because you take in a lot of people's anxieties and worries and depressive moods, and you hear really sad stories, and um but it was more that I just needed to get out of the daily rituals, and yeah, just sort of get more excitement in my life, even if that means more scary things. It's just Groundhog Day every day otherwise. I mean, wash, rinse, and repeat. And I think when one finds this in their lives, I feel it's extremely important to bust out of that cycle, because, it leads to a dead end. And if you start the cycle over and over again and again and again, I mean, one day that machine's going to break down, and that'll be it. So it's very important to bust out of, your work mode, even though you love your work or like your work. Um, so, I mean, yeah, I just think everybody needs a change, needs a challenge. So I don't know. I just wanted to become a kid again and walk around gazing at everything around me, which I absolutely did. I mean, I'm sure if any local person saw me walking down the street, I mean, they would know I'm a tourist 100%. Because all I did was like stare up and probably walked into a few posts and tripped over a few whatever curbs and stuff like that in doing so. But yeah, so my, to explain a little bit more about my trip or give you a little bit more details, I spent about 7 days in Tuscany with my brother and his partner, um, which was absolutely wonderful. I was spoiled with beautiful walks, lots and lots of walks down the tiny roads, little highways in Tuscany, and just saw some beautiful scenery. I felt like I was walking in a park. Um, Beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrises, um, just fresh air, fresh food, delicious food. Um, Food that awoke my taste buds from the boredom of my usual diet. And the birds singing happily, that honestly just acted as my alarm clock. I had my windows wide open. That's the other wonderful thing, is just no screens, your windows are wide open. Um, and so, yeah, and I remember one evening coming from a beautiful dinner, walking outside and going towards our car, I heard, this beautiful bird song, and I asked my brother-in-law, what bird is that? And he said nightingale. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's the first time I think I ever heard a nightingale. So that was really special for me. Um, yeah, and I also met some really wonderful friends, which were, I should say, wonderful people that are now I would consider my friends, which are are mainly neighbors of my brother. And it was just so nice to see how it was like to live and work in a small town in Tuscany. So after leaving my brother, sadly, I headed back to Rome, which was exciting. I jumped on a train to Rome to rediscover what the capital of Italy had to offer. I was reminded of how ancient this city is and saw what city life is like in Italy. Um, I was able to see the Pope for the second time in Vatican Square, which was very exciting. I saw the Pope on Mother's Day. The first time I had seen the Pope give um, was when I was 18, and we were able to attend a Christmas Eve blessing, which was also a very special time for me. But this time around, what I enjoyed the most was a fantastic tour of the Vatican Museum and the Sistine Chapel, where, I mean, one could easily spend a week viewing. I mean, there's just so much, so much. I mean, you could stare at the ceiling and, so many beautiful statues and, beautiful tapestry, like woven with threads of gold. There's just incredible amount to see there. And, I guess I'm Roman Catholic, but I can't say that I've been practicing um, my Catholic ways very much, especially with COVID, and but even ever since having kids, I mean, it's to get into a church has been difficult, but that's no excuse. All I'm saying is that it was great to enter so many different churches again in Rome, and I mean, all of them are just filled with so much beauty. You just feel so close to God, and that was very special for me. So yeah, I think, I really feel like I covered Rome really well in about 4 days. Did a crazy amount of walking. Um, you know, but yeah, the days just flew by. Uh, so then I took a flight from Rome to Lisbon. And, um, during the flight, which was about 2.5 hours, I just kind of reflected on my last 10 days in Italy. And let me just talk a little bit about what I learned about the Italian culture. These people, I think, well, absolutely love their country, and you can see it. And they were extremely friendly. Most spoke enough English to help me, at least allow me to get by. And they were able to answer my questions. Um, but what stands out, I think, about the Italians the most is that they love, 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 love connection. They love connecting to everyone. And I mean, you can see this in the evenings, as you walk about the city into the different piazzas. I mean, everyone is out and about, like every age, from young little children running around to, you know, older older couples walking hand in hand. It's just so lovely to see, whether they're sitting and having a cafe or wine, lots of laughter, lots of life. And yeah, that was really special. I mean, I often thought about how difficult it must have been for Italians, especially during COVID restrictions. I mean, to be, isolated from everyone. I think it, I think it wasn't easy for us either in, in America, in Canada, but I think it's different though, because we actually are quite isolated. I mean, we we don't connect to our neighbors, and we don't all gather in parks, or we don't have piazzas or anything like that. So I think it is quite a bit different, and also, not to mention that, we have much larger living spaces than most Italians would. I mean, most Italians would live in apartments, I would say, or smaller homes. So I think it is more natural for them to get out and walk about and meet friends and family that way as well. So yeah, I think it would have been very difficult for them during COVID. Um, so what else? Well, in Tuscany, like, I'll never forget visiting my brother's local town, um, driving in there one morning with him. He needed to go run some errands, and the little town is called, Monte San Savino. And we parked in a small piazza near the center of the town. And before you knew it, my brother was, surrounded by locals. He started talking to this person and that person. Um, like, I just couldn't get over how many people just gathered in a short amount of time in that little piazza. And then we walked into the local butcher shop and, started having this conversation with the butcher. And he's actually quite famous. He met the Pope. It's a long story, so I won't get into it. But the quality of his meats is known, I mean, all over that town, and probably most of the area of Arezzo. And yeah, like, he, you know, I took a picture with him. He couldn't stop telling me about his cows, and it's quite amazing, actually. Like, the meats in his shop, he can tell you what day the cow was slaughtered, the birth date of the cow, the lifespan of the cow, what the cow grazed on. I mean, it's crazy. He loves his animals, and he's so proud of all his meats, which were delicious. Um, but I mean, that's what I mean. It's just crazy how personal everyone is. And then after we did that, we walked into, of course, the local cafe, and had a beautiful cappuccino, and started talking to the barista behind, the bar there. Everyone, again, is so friendly. I mean, I love their coffee culture. It's so highly connected with, meeting others, and um, also not having the feeling of being rushed. I mean, even though you don't spend a lot of time, not, well, you can. I mean, most of the time when I walked into any of those cafes, we just stood up at the bar and we had our espresso or our cappuccino. We had a 5-10 minute conversation, with the barista, or just my brother and I chatting, and then we left. But of course, other people sit down and converse for longer times. But the whole thing is that, it's it's um it's it's not a lot of coffee. It's quality. It's quality time and quality coffee. Um, you know, I did not see one Starbucks the whole time I was in Italy, and I'm not. I think that might be the only. I don't know. Maybe, as far as I know, maybe Italy banned Starbucks. I have no idea, but I did not see one Starbucks in Italy. And that was a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. I mean, it's crazy overpriced coffee. Um, and I mean, you would just never see anyone walking around like people do in America with, a ginormous coffee cup. I mean, I, I don't even know how Starbucks adopted Venti as part of their sizing. I mean, it's so not Italian. So anyway, yeah, and another thing actually to take note of is pricing. It What I really like is, it doesn't matter if you get a coffee near the most, I guess, famous, piazza, or center square, or whether you get it in the suburbs, or a metro station, uh, which is like a gas station. It doesn't matter where you get your espresso or your cappuccino. It's all priced the same, and it's all very reasonable, very reasonable. I mean, I'm sure some shops do a better job than others making their cappuccino or espresso, but I mean, they all tasted great to me. So I guess I'm not such a connoisseur, but I just love, you know, the fact that I find in America, it's like, people will say, "Oh, don't go to that restaurant. It's way overpriced," or, "Oh no, don't buy your groceries there. That's yeah, again, so overpriced." Like, it doesn't matter what grocery store you go into, what coffee shop, what butcher shop. I mean, everything is just priced the same. And I love that. Um, and it's true, the wines as well. Like, whether you buy a $6 bottle of wine, it is as delicious as a $15 bottle of wine. I mean, I think Italians believe that everyone deserves fresh food of high quality. It's an important observation to make that there's a huge middle class in Italy, and you can see it as well in the clothes that they wear. I mean, even if you're in the lower range of this middle class, they it they prove that it doesn't take a lot of money to look clean and in vogue. I mean, and it might not be Prada, but I'll bet you it's still genuine quality leather, and it's not polyester. Their shoes still shine, and they're well groomed. Put it this way, they don't leave the house wearing pajama pants and slippers. They have a lot of pride in themselves and their shops as well. You will always see them sweeping their floors, shining their cutlery, and glasses and counters, etc. So, yeah, I guess in terms of, I talked a lot about the coffee culture, but their food, and the dinners that we had were just exceptionally good as well. It's like I said, it's so fresh. But the first few days, I landed in Europe. I must say, it took me a little bit of time to get used to eating as late as they do. Typically dinner is served sometime around 8 or 8:30 p.m. However, after I got into the groove of it, I started to really like this routine. It seemed like at this time, at that time of the day, you're done your work for the day, and therefore everyone can get together and share and talk about their day, share the beautiful food together, share their experiences of the day together. And it often starts with an antipasti, which means, well, anti meaning before, and pasti meaning pasta. So I enjoyed this as much as I did the actual meal. It usually comprised of salami, prosciutto, olives, artichokes, sometimes cheese, quite often crusty rustic bread, and lots of olive oil. And the bread, their crusty bread is so good. Yeah, and I haven't really mentioned the wine very much yet, but it's hard to envision, not drinking wine when you're surrounded by vineyards. Otherwise, I have to admit, I very rarely drink, but when I do, it is wine, and therefore I did not deny myself of any on this trip. It was just so darn delicious. I couldn't say no. Oh, and I will also miss the pizzas. It's actually hilarious. It's everywhere, and it's normally very simple pizzas. It's marinara, like just tomato sauce and olive oil. But like I said, everything's such high quality that even the pasta sauce and just, even if it's just pasta, tomato sauce, I should say, if it's just tomato sauce, the way they season it, the herbs, and the quality of the olive oil, and the quality of the dough, and the crust, and the thin crust. You don't have to add any toppings. If that's all it is, it's just delicious. So I had my share of pizzas. And I experimented with a few different ones that I wouldn't normally have. Like sometimes I had eggs on them. I love the artichokes. And the fresh cheese, the bufala, mozzarella was just delicious. Ah, I'm getting sad just thinking about it now. Anyway, okay, well, maybe I should talk a little bit about what I will not miss. I will not miss the waiting. There, it's waiting, and patience is not a strong point of mine, and it was challenging at some times. But it just goes with traveling. waiting at the airport, waiting in traffic, but that's only in large cities. Waiting to, well, fall asleep when it first came, a little bit of jet lag. Waiting to eat sometimes. I mean, like I said, I became accustomed to the late evening meals, but I gotta admit some of those first few days I didn't think I was gonna make it. I was just starving. Thought I was gonna pass out. But anyway, um, I don't know, waiting to find a washroom. Yeah, public washrooms. Oh, that's something else. Like being a tourist in a European city. Well, I should say now that I've been to Lisbon, it was different here, but Rome, I mean, it's just not it's it's not like in America where there's public washrooms everywhere and tons of public washrooms. Um, it's a like I mean, you actually to find a public washroom, you often would have to pay €1 to use it as well. It's not like you can just run into, let's say, a restaurant like McDonald's or anything like that, and use their washroom. They charge you €1 for it. I mean, it's not a big deal, but yeah, like I mean, they're just not very accessible. Um, oh yeah, I mean, I guess in Rome, hmm, the 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 traffic noises were sometimes a little bit much. You know, yeah, like depending, where your hotel might be situated, you could be awoken by garbage trucks that are picking the garbage up early in the mornings. And I have my window open here right now in my hotel, and uh, I mean, yeah, whatever. You hear the sirens and things like that, but it's one thing to ask about when you are searching for hotels. Maybe I'll talk about this a little bit later on, but you need to make sure that there's you're not in a really high traffic area. Um, I guess I should mention Lisbon a little bit. Lisbon. Okay, so I spent 3 days here, and it is a very different European city in the sense that I don't know. The only way I can describe it is almost like a modern European city. I mean, it still has cobblestone, but it's like new cobblestone. I don't know. Um, and it's beautiful. Like I mean, it's almost like mosaic, like the sidewalks. It's done in different colored stones quite often, like black and white, and shiny, beautiful stones and immaculate. Like compared to Rome, I must say, it's Lisbon is immaculate. There's garbage cans everywhere. That's one thing that Rome didn't have. I mean, they had very few. I think that's just like because it's such an ancient city. I mean, it's just not set up that way. But in Lisbon, there's lots of opportunity to throw your trash out, and all the trash cans are empty, whereas in Rome I'd often find them overflowing, and yeah, a fair bit of garbage in the streets depending where you were in Rome, which is really unfortunate. um but yeah, Lisbon, I don't know. I mean, the weather is beautiful. I didn't mention that really. In Italy, I love the weather because it's well, it was May when I was there, but it was, about 23, 24 degrees. And at night it cooled down quite a bit, which I like a lot. Maybe not everyone likes that, but I liked it. And in Portugal, they're having a bit of a heat wave here in mid-May. And it's been about 28 every day that I've been here, almost 30. And it doesn't cool down as much as at night, about 14 degrees. Um, but yeah, beautiful, beautiful weather. Um, yeah, what else can I say about Lisbon? most people speak English, although it was about the same as the Italians, I would say. I thought more people would speak English here, but it's about the same as Italians. They have enough English to help a lost tourist like myself. And oh, the food is pretty amazing here, especially if you like seafood. It's so fresh and delicious. Oh, they seem to love their bread, and I love their bread too. I mean, you you see, I don't know, it's not like pastry shops so much. It's like full on like bakery shops. I mean, I guess like with rustic breads, all different kinds. And it just didn't seem like people would, I would see people just buying, large buns or yeah, and just like chomping on bread, like walking down the street, just eating bread. I don't even know how to explain it. Um, but yeah, lots of great sandwiches and lots of great bread. And I can't remember the Portuguese name of these. I mean, they're famous, right? These little custard tarts. Um, they are delicious. I mean, just delicious. Uh, their pastry is amazing. And yeah, what else? What else to talk about Lisbon? I mean, I took the train to Cascas. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but it's just a 30-minute train from the city center you can take to where um, the uh, Tagar River, I think it's called in Lisbon here, that runs through the city. I should say runs through the city, but it runs along the city, and it connects to the Atlantic Ocean. So that's where I took the trains to go to the Atlantic Ocean, and was able to walk along the beach and the boardwalks there, which was beautiful. Again, the architecture, uh, on the coastal region there was just gorgeous. Um, all the colorful buildings. If anyone has seen pictures of um, the buildings in the structures in Lisbon, they're all different sort of pastel colors, and they're just gorgeous. Lots of hills. I yeah, pretty similar to Rome, but even more so, I guess, in Lisbon. There's lots of hills, lots of hills. Um, but yeah, it was. I mean, no wonder people don't use gyms in in Europe as much. I mean, especially in Rome. I mean, there's just so much walking. Um, but the traffic in Lisbon was, I'm going to say, slow, very slow. They seem to, they have great bicycle and walking and like sidewalks and bicycle lanes. But I don't know, something about the infrastructure for traffic seems really poorly done. Um, Traffic is very, very slow, but maybe it's because I came from Rome where there are no stoplights, no, you know, like intersections in Rome. It's all like sort of thoroughfares, and they drive crazy in Rome, but they seem to do it so well. There's never any stopping, and I think few accidents. I mean, I never saw any accidents, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy Lisbon as well. I would say my favorite is still, like, I mean, a little biased, but it's more of northern Western Europe probably than Southern Europe. But it was nice to get a taste of the Portuguese lifestyle here, and definitely worth coming to, visiting, I should say. Um, how about just maybe I'll end with talking about what I love about Europe in general. And I would say um, I love the relaxed culture. I love I love the fact, it just like, I'm a tourist and I'm walking around the city, and I get it that I'm walking in areas where there are probably lots of other tourists, meaning I see a lot of the cafes full, a lot of the restaurants full, middle of the day, people having a cafe or a beer or wine out on the patios. And um, it's, but I have a feeling it's always like that though. I don't think it's because I'm more in the touristy areas. I just think it's their culture, just to take time during the day and have a beautiful lunch, or have a cup of coffee with a friend, or a beer or a spirit or whatever that might be. And I love that. And they savor their food. Like I say, it means a lot to have quality food. Um, yeah, and I just love that about them. Um, and yeah, you know, there's no, like, for example, there's no calories written below the price of whatever it is behind the glass. For example, at Starbucks, like, you know here's a muffin, here's the price, and here's the calories. I mean, why? I mean, if it's if it's something of quality, and you love the taste, then just eat it. Why are Yeah, anyway. And yeah, and there's no drive-throughs. I don't think I saw one drive-through the whole time I was here. Again, that tells you a lot about their culture, right? Um, I don't think people are driving their kids to this and that and this and that, sporting event, or whatever they're rushing their kids to, and driving through a drive-through on their way to whatever that event or practice is. Um, I think, here they probably walk their children a couple blocks down the street to whatever lesson they have or practice they have, or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, there's no one's going through a drive-through, and no one's walking around with like a vat of coffee in their hand, or you know a liter of water in their hand. I mean, that's the other thing. I think in America we overdo the drinking of water. I mean, it's just, if you ask for a glass of water, at a restaurant, they literally give you like what we would call like a juice glass of water. Anyway, um, yeah. So I mean, I think they go for less in size and more for quality, which I love. I love the fact that there's a huge, huge middle class. I think that's just so nice, so easy. I found everyone extremely friendly in both Portugal and Italy. Um, and I admire the women that rock the high heels and the dresses and the skirts, and oh my God, especially on cobblestone. Like I was just amazed at that. Sometimes I look down at their feet and I see the high heels. I'm like, how do you do that? But they do it, and they do it well. And of course, I admire the men that are, wearing the dress shirts, and, well groomed, and the beautiful leather shoes. I admire the patience that they have with these crazy foreigners and tourists. They still seem to smile and treat us so well. And I really admire the pride that they have in their country. And I think it's wonderful. So that's about it. I mean, um, what else? Well, I might just mention other thing for those that are thinking of uh, traveling to Europe. I would love to give you some helpful tips, maybe on booking rooms. I used mainly booking.com, which was actually pretty great. And I'm sure, I don't know, there's other little apps you can use, but I found they gave a great wide range of hotels or hostels or apartments or B&Bs. Like, you can filter your choices on whatever you're looking for. Um, it might take a little bit of work in the beginning, but it's very well worth it to get exactly what you're looking for. And just remember, when you're booking a hotel in Europe, it's not like you're normally, booking at a large chain hotel. And in fact, I would not recommend that at all. I mean, if you're going to go to Europe, like, don't stay at a Holiday Inn or something like that. My goodness, go to the little B&Bs, go to the smaller hotels. I mean, that's where the charm is. And speaking of which, I mean, like, some things that I felt was important. I mean, you will, like, let's say in Rome, I mean, you're never going to find a carpeted hotel room. At least I don't think you would. I can't imagine. I mean, it's all tile, and definitely go for hardwoods or tile. I mean, the thought for me of having carpeted hotel room kind of grosses me out. Um, and other things that were important for me, windows that opened wide, nothing better than that. I mean, like, there's no flies, there's no mosquitoes, there's nothing. Why wouldn't you want to have, like, big, beautiful windows that opened up wide, which is what I had. Um, I mean, air conditioning is important. Actually, in Lisbon now, so glad I have air conditioning. Can't imagine not having air conditioning. Um, what else? I mean, I always love having a kettle uh, in my room, which is quite common, but you should ask, because frankly, I like having, like, I wake up early. Europeans tend to wake up, I think, a little bit later, but I still woke up fairly early here, like between 6:30 and 7. And I like to have my coffee right away when I get up. So that was important for me. I also like having tea at night. And yeah, so, speaking of morning, most offer breakfast included. That really depends, though. Sometimes breakfast is like a croissant that's wrapped up in, plastic wrap, but that's not so common. Sometimes that's all you get. But most of the time, I mean, they serve, either, well, at least the places I stayed, either it was like a beautiful croissant delivered by a local bakery that was still hot. Oh my God, that was the best. Um, but other times it's actually like sort of a continental breakfast where you'll have, your basic toast, cereal, pastries, yogurt, fruit, eggs, etc. Um, but that might not be important for you. So I think you would have the option not to take the breakfast, which is nice. I normally didn't. I like the idea of just having coffee and then not doing breakfast and grabbing a nice lunch, halfway through the day and dinner. Or actually, what was nice is having a little kitchen wherever you're staying, because of the beautiful breads and meats and fresh produce like grapes, olives, artichoke, and even fresh salads, because you can buy this at local markets. I love the idea of just coming back to my hotel midday and using the little kitchen and making myself my own little lunch. And like I said, the beautiful breads and cheeses. I mean, oh my gosh, why not? So that was important for me. What else? 24-hour desk service is always nice. God knows, I mean, what could happen like at 11 p.m. Who knows? I mean, you probably won't need it, but maybe you do. And I would also suggest, if you can arrive during the day, I think that's kind of important. You don't want to arrive at, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at night, because, what if you forgot something? What if you forgot to pack your toothbrush and toothpaste, or, a European plug adapter or something like that, and you need to plug in your phone, or at least you have the opportunity during the day to go out and get those things. What else? Something that's kind of important, I think, is to, message or call the hotel directly and ask if there's any sort of renovation or construction happening nearby, because I mean, any city. I mean, I guess it could happen in any city. I mean, the last thing you want is to check in, go to your room, open the window or the whatever, and see like a brand new building being, worked across the street from you or something like that. Not something you want. So that's probably a good idea. And you can also ask if the street is busy, maybe, or you might ask for, a quiet room. You might want to ask if there's an elevator. Another very important thing, like, to pack. Yeah. Going to Europe, the best thing you can do is just have a carry-on. I managed a carry-on in this 2-week trip, and it's great not only to not have to check in a bag, but also if you are going to take a metro to the airport, for example, or use the metro at all with your bags, I mean, there are no elevators, and that means a heck of a lot of stairs to climb, go down and come up. And also some of these hotels don't have elevators. So just another thing to think about. I think that is it. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode, a little bit different. And if you liked it, I'll do more of them. Okay. Hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.